I am making a batch of oatmeal today. It's not a tutorial, anything, just going through the phases of what I'm doing. Right now I have 150 bars of oatmeal made, and I'm going to do another 25 here. As you can see, my voice is still out of control. I'm getting over the flu, but I'm feeling better to make some soap, and that's what we're doing today. I have all my oils, hard oils, liquid oils, everything is in this container and ready to go. I'm adding my lye water here. It is at a good temperature. I keep it around 90 when I'm doing milk soap. So add that. I turned the blender down so it wouldn't be annoying to some folks. But I'm just getting a good mix on it. I already added the colloidal oatmeal to the oils before I added the lye, because I didn't want to add any extra agitation to the mix. But we're just getting it combined. Before I go in now, I'm going to add my fragrance oil. It's a light fragrance oil, and it's not a lot because it's oatmeal, it's goat's milk, it's raw honey, and this is the raw honey that I'm adding right here. I mix it with some water and heat it up a little in the microwave, and I carefully add this because the sugar content is going to speed up the batter, but we're good. Now I'm adding my goat's milk. So we got that added, and I do that last, and it's basically just to get it mixed in because everything else is been combined into the batter. So once that gets to the point where I feel like it's I'm not gonna bring it to the point where it's too thick for me to handle, because I want to pour this first half into my mold once it gets fully combined. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm pouring the first half of the oatmeal, and I've made these bars like this. This was the first bar that I made when I first started, and this will be our 16th year in business, and I've made these oatmeal bars the same way ever since. So I'm just pouring it, and as I pour this into the mold, it's gonna start to harden up. So as I'm working on the second half, believe me, it's hardening up to the point where I can then pour the second half. Now I'm doing a light dusting of cocoa powder. I'm not trying to get it fully on top of everything, but it just gives it a little definition in the finished bar. Does nothing to the bar. It's just an aesthetic look. So I'm getting that on there, and then I'm going to wipe off. I'm obsessed with wiping. I don't know why, but I'm going to wipe off whatever's on the top because I don't want it to get to the second half. Now, I mix my titanium dioxide with glycerin, and I have it in a jar. So that's what I just added to the batter because I like the top part of the oatmeal bars to be a little lighter. Again, does nothing for the soap. It's just the way I like it to look. And like I said, I've done this for the last 16 years, going to be 16 years. It's our top selling bar, and I'm doing things a little different this year, making everything up front oatmeal. I'm trying to get all of these soaps made by mid-March. Who knows? Might be a little before then if I can stay well. But I also work full-time too, so I make soap when I come in the evening and on the weekends. So right now I'm just making sure all the titanium dioxide is mixed in. I don't want any streaks of white in the batter, so just making sure everything is fully combined here before I pour the top on. And then you'll see that I pour this on carefully, but this whole time that I've been doing other things, this bottom half has hardened up to the point where it's not going to break through. So I am carefully pouring the second half of the oatmeal onto the bottom half. It is so creamy, makes you want to lick it. But like I said, I advise against that. So trying to get it down as even as possible, so we have a consistency of the same size bars. You know, if it was a little short, I would just scrape it from whatever side and just try to pull it to the part that's missing. I feel like it's missing the batter, but we were good. I banged the mold down to get any air bubbles out and move the camera. But as you can see, you can still see what I'm doing. And now I'm just scraping out and adding soap to whatever spots seemed like it was short. So I'm just trying to get it all out of here. And I'm trying to scrape out as much as I can because I'm still trying to wash dishes that were left over from 2025, soap dishes. So I plan to reuse this container to make the next batch. So I'm scraping it out really good. And then I'm going to wipe it out and wash it. So we are trying to get all the batter out of there before I sculpt the top. So here we go with the wiping again. I'm obsessed with the wiping. And I'm making the camera move again, but I'm going to fix it. I realized that it moved out of frame. So we got to go. See? The wiping. Again. We're now going to sculpt. You see, I moved the camera back. Sculpt one side of the bar. This is what I usually do. I get my spoon and I texturize one side of the soap mold. So I'm just going in with my spoon, just pushing it to the side. And this is basically how I do most of my soap tops. The oatmeal only gets one side because I add the oatmeal to the top, so on the other side. So that's why I don't do a double swoop on the oatmeal bar. But I usually come back in and do a second sort of scallop, and it has that scallop look when it's done. And I do that on most all of my bars. But once I've got this now texturized, I go and I get my oatmeal to lightly place on the other side of the mold. And I keep my gloves on for most of this because I have touched the top of the bar before and I don't want to get any of the soap on my fingers. So I'm just lightly placing just a few of the oatmeal kernels or whatever on the top. And then I will go in with the spoon and lightly press it down, because if I didn't, all of this is going to just come right off when it's time to cut. And I usually cut these bars like an angle to the side so the oatmeal doesn't drag through the bars. And see, I'm pressing the oatmeal into the soap. We're basically done here. That is the process of what I go through to make the oatmeal bars. There's a lot of steps. With the addition of the honey, addition of the goat's milk, making the cocoa powder line. Yeah, there's a lot of steps to the oatmeal bar, but it is my top selling bar. So I want to make sure. There were times in 2025 that I was sold out, and like I said, I like for my bars to cure. I give it the 6 weeks, but I also like for them to have cured for a while before selling them. I'm just spritzing the top with alcohol. I don't even cover this soap because I don't want the goat's milk to heat up. And that is the finished batch. I have 2 more to make today because I don't have any